Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I am the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I would like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is on the online slips and referral tracking in BNI Connect. For about 2 years now, we've been able to submit all of our weekly activity online through BNI Connect. That means our referral slips, our thank you for closed business slips, our one-to-one slips, and our CEU slips. We can submit those online, and we can track the results of those going forward. So traditionally, we've always just done this on paper, and we had the statistical reports, but doing this online through BNI Connect has a number of additional benefits than the traditional paper process. So we're going to be going through that whole process today here on the webinar. Before we do, a couple of housekeeping things. This is a live webinar, so if you have any questions at all as we're going through the material today, please do feel free to ask those questions. You can ask questions by typing into the questions panel. I will see that pop up on my screen right away, and I'll be able to answer those questions as we're going along. We're scheduled for about a half hour worth of content. I do try to make sure that everybody can get back to their jobs and their daily lives. That being said, I am always happy to stay on these webinars as long as people have questions. So please do ask away. This webinar is being recorded. It will be made available afterwards in a couple of different places. The first place you can find all of the recordings is on the support site. To get to the support site, click on the question mark in the upper right-hand corner of BNI Connect. That will take you over to the support site, support.bniconnect.com, and if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see all of our upcoming webinars, and then a section called Chapter Training and Documentation. In here, you'll see a section called Recorded Webinars, and they will all be listed on a month-by-month basis. So for example, here's all the webinars from October that you can review, and the November ones will be uploaded shortly as well. You can also find all of our recorded content at youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. Again, that's youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. We have a ton of recorded content up here, including some non-webinar things such as special announcements from Dr. Meisner. We have a bunch of educational moments, short 3 to 5 minute videos about specific functions in BNI Connect, as well as all of the recorded webinars. So please do check us out and subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. So let's talk about online slips. So the online slips, again, a great new functionality. I personally have been a member of BNI since 2002, so coming up on 13 years now. And this to me was one of the biggest benefits to our BNI membership since I became a member. And again, this is the ability to submit our slips online through BNI Connect. Now, here's some things about BNI Connect if you haven't logged in very often. The top section here in BNI Connect is our history. And this is our participation in the chapter for the last 12 months and our lifetime. Now, these numbers up here at the top are the official, quote-unquote, official numbers. So as your vice president on a weekly basis submits the PALMS report, these numbers up here will be updated. Now, these numbers will be updated regardless of whether you are putting in online slips or whether you're following the paper process of handing in just regular old-fashioned paper slips at the weekly meeting. Keep in mind that these numbers will only be updated after your vice president has verified them. So even if you're choosing to use the online slips, this will only be updated after the meeting. On the home page here, though, you will notice that there is a new number that we've really never recorded before in BNI Connect, and that is revenue received to my business. This number is only updated if you are submitting the thank you for closed business slips online, because as you're thanking other people for generating business, we're able to now record that privately for you based on the thank you for closed business slips that you're inputting into BNI Connect. On the home screen here, there's also a personal participation report. So if you'd like to see the details of your activity, click on the My Personal Participation Report. This will give you a report of your last 12 months of history in the chapter on a week-by-week basis. So this is extremely helpful as well. If you think that there's an error in any of the numbers, you can look through this and see where that error might be and be able to call that out to your vice president or whoever handles the POMS reports in your chapter. You can also see the members you've sponsored, your attendance for the past 12 months, and any trainings that you've attended. So let's take a look at the slips. The bottom portion of the screen is where we're going to work with all of this weekly activity. So the first 4 items here are your ability to submit a slip. So rather than wait for your weekly meeting and fill out a piece of paper, you can submit a slip immediately online as that particular event is happening. You can also track the referrals that you've received electronically, and then you can review all of the slips that you've entered. There's also a received referrals report, and we have the ability to print out paper slips if we'd like to before our chapter meeting. Let's take a look at how these slips work one by one. So the first one here is submit a thank you for closed business slip. If I click this, this pulls up a slip that we can fill out when a piece of business has closed and we'd like to thank another person for generating that business for us. We just need to select somebody from our chapter. So for example, I'm going to select Matthew Wall here. Matthew Wall is a Midas person in our chapter. He owns a car repair shop. He had sent me a referral that generated in, let's say, $1,000 to my business. It was new business, so I'm going to keep new clicked here. It was an outside referral. So for those of you that may not know the difference between an inside, outside, and Tier 3 referral. A Tier 1 referral is when 2 members do business with each other. So for example, if Matt had done business directly with me, that would be a Tier 1 referral. The referral and the money stayed within the chapter, an inside referral. A Tier 2 referral would be if Matthew had introduced me to somebody else, whether it's one of his friends, whether one of his colleagues, could be a business associate, an old college roommate, his mother, anybody else that he might have introduced me to, that would be a Tier 2 referral. A Tier 3 referral is what we call a spin-off referral, and that would be if Matt had introduced me to, let's say, his best friend, Jim. Now, Jim was so happy he introduced me to somebody else. That somebody else would now be a 3rd level referral, and I can also record that business in BNI Connect as well. So this one was a Tier 2 referral, and we can put whatever comments we'd like to remind ourselves of what this thank you for closed business was for later. So let's say that this was Matt's friend Joe, who bought a new computer. One thing about the comments is that the comments are kept private only to you. Nobody else can see the comments that you put in here. So your vice president isn't seeing the comments, your chapter director consultant, your executive director, Dr. Meisner, myself, I have godlike access to BNI Connect. I cannot see the comments that you put into this slip. They're for your use only so that you can go back and review it later. Now we have a couple of options at the bottom. We can choose Save and New, Submit, or Close. So Save and New will submit this slip and immediately pull up a blank slip so that we can continue to insert slips one at a time. Submit will just input this slip and take us back to the home screen. And Close will abandon this. So I'm going to go ahead and click Submit. Now, normally when we pass a piece of paper at the meeting, once that piece of paper is passed, that's the end of it. We can't go back and review it later. One of the benefits of the online slips is now we're keeping a history of all of the individual slips that we're turning in on a weekly basis. So if I go to review my slips, I can choose a date range. By default, it's going to give me the last 6 months, but I can change this to any period of time I'd like to. I can go back to 2012 when the online slips were first introduced and look at every single thank you for closed business slip that I've ever turned in. And I can see that this one that I just turned in to Matthew Wall, it was successfully submitted for $1,000, and I can review the details as well for Matt's friend Joe who bought a new computer. The other thing that I can see is that this is still in draft mode. What that means is that I've submitted the slip. It's before my weekly meeting. My weekly meeting happens to be on Thursdays. So what this is waiting in the queue for this Thursday's meeting. After we've had our meeting and after our vice president has closed out the POMS report, this will be changed to completed. At that point, the slip is no longer editable and it will be part of the permanent statistics for my membership and for the chapter. One of the other benefits of this Thank You for Closed Business report is that it does give us an insight into our membership that we might not have had before. And one thing that we can do is maybe you want to find out who has passed you the biggest amount of business. Well, just sort this by the amount and you can see who your largest referrals givers are based on the amount of individual referrals. You can also go in and change this and sort this by thank you to. And here you can see who is giving you possibly the most referrals or total up those referrals. It's a great way to find out who your best referral sources are in the chapter. So the next type of slip that we can enter is a referral slip. So if I click on Submit Referral Slip, this will open up a new referral slip for me to enter. Now this looks very similar to the paper referral slip. We even have the temperature gauge over here on the right-hand side. And again, I can select somebody from my chapter. Let's say that I have a referral for Gregory Rosso. He's the carpet cleaner in my chapter. And this referral is to my mother. It's an outside referral. I gave my mother his card. I also told my mother that he would be calling, and I can put the address in. Telephone number and the email address. I can also put any comments in here. Rate the referral. I'm going to call this one a 4. And if this is my only referral, I'm going to click Submit. I could also click Save and New to submit another referral right away. Now the great thing about the referrals is that as soon as you enter that referral online, your referral partner is going to get a notification about it, letting them know that they have received a new referral. So for example, here's a referral that I received recently. I can see that the referral is from David Nichols. It was a very hot referral. It was rated 5 on the temperature scale. I can see who the referral name was and the address and the phone number and the email. I can see the comments, and it also puts in all of the information to get back in touch with my referral partner should I need to. Now the great thing about the notification is that most of us are receiving these notifications on our cell phones. And the great thing about that is that we can just click right on the email address, or we can click right on the phone number and make that follow-up phone call right away. So it's really helping to shorten the referral curve and the time it takes to go through and complete these referrals. Now the other thing I wanted to show you is that you do also have the ability to do a cross-chapter referral. So let's say that in my chapter, we don't have a web designer right now, but through networking and through going to networking events and regional trainings, I was able to meet another web designer in my region that I've become friendly with and that I can pass referrals to until we get a web designer in my own chapter. So I can use the search cross chapter to send a referral to that person. All I need to do is search for this person. Now, you don't have to put the full name in. This person happens to be, his name is Dave Cordero. I never remember whether he's Dave or David in the system, so I'm just going to put the first couple of letters of his name. And I can also never remember how to spell his last name, so I'm just going to put a couple of letters of his last name in there and click search. And it pulls up the result. I can see that he's in the CityBiz chapter and his company name and what his profession is. I'm pretty sure this is the right person, so I'm going to go ahead and put a check in this box here. Are you sure? Yes, I am. And now we can see that this referral is going to David Cordero. I can go ahead and fill out the rest of these details. This is an outside referral, gave him a card. Telephone number, the email address, and any comments. I can rate the referral and then go ahead and click submit. One thing to note about the cross-chapter referrals is that it is limited right now to only your area, so only your region of BNI. So that means the people that are in the chapters, usually it's within your part of the state. So the people that you're normally networking with and training with and things like that. At some point in time in the future, we're hoping that it will be a worldwide ability to pass referrals, but for right now it is limited to just those chapters in your region. I'm going to go ahead and click submit and pass this referral to David Cordero. Now, just as with the thank you for closed business slips, I do have the ability to review my referral slips. By default, it's going to show me the last month, but again, I can go back and choose any date range I'd like to. I can go all the way back to the beginning, and I can see all of the details of the referrals that I've passed in BNI Connect. This is extremely helpful, so you can see also, by sorting it by 2, I can see who I'm passing the most referrals to. Or if somebody comes to me and says, hey, you know, I can't remember the phone number for this person, I can go back to this report and look up the phone number. The other thing this does is you'll notice for referrals, we have a tracking sheet status. And what this is, and I'll show you this a little bit towards the end, but we have the ability to record the progress of our referrals as well. And if my referral partner is recording the progress, I will see the tracking sheet status change. So as they mark that referral as closed or a no sale or pending, in my referrals given report, it will show that status here as well. The next type of slip is a one-to-one slip. So I can just, again, choose the person from my chapter or somebody else in the region that I had a one-to-one with. And let's say that I met with Seth Jacobson. Seth is our portrait and wedding photographer in our chapter. I can choose the location that we met. We met at Seth's office, and he showed me how he does a photo shoot. I can choose the date that we met, and I can click submit. Now the thing with the one-to-ones is that only one person of the one-to-one pair needs to submit that one-to-one. Both people will get the credit for it, and if Seth does try to go and put a one-to-one for the same date, it will give him a warning that it's already been submitted. And again, I can review my one-to-one slips. By default, it's showing me the last 6 months here. Now, the thing with the one-to-one slips that I find very helpful, especially with the one-to-one report, is that it does give you the ability to strategize your one-to-ones. By reviewing who I've had one-to-ones with for the past 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year, I can see who I might need to meet with that I haven't met with in a long time. So for example here, I can see that I haven't done a one-to-one with Greg Bressler since June. Now he's one of the best referral partners that I have in the chapter. I should probably be doing one-to-ones with him more frequently. So this allows me to go in and see when that one-to-one happened and possibly schedule a new one. Now also within all of the review reports, there's a button at the top that says Edit, Delete Slips. Now, if you make a mistake on one of your slips, any of the slips that are still in draft mode, you can go in and edit or remove. So, for example, I'm going to click Edit, Delete Slips. It's going to show me all of these slips that are still in draft mode. Now, I realize that this thank you for closed business that I turned in a little while ago to Matt Wall actually have the incorrect amount in it. So I'm going to go in and make a correction to that. If I click the edit button, that was actually $1,500. So I'm going to make that correction and submit it. Now if I go back to my thank you for closed business report, I can see that this was corrected to $1,500 now. And finally, we have the CEU slips. All we need to do is to mark down which chapter education units we participated in. So for example, if all of you are in front of your computers in BNI Connect, please make sure you go ahead and give yourself 1 credit for a BNI webinar. Click Submit, and it will turn in that CEU slip for you. And of course, there is a Review My CEU Slips. Now, when other people send you referrals in BNI Connect, you can also review the referrals that you've received. And you can do this by clicking on the Received Referrals Report. By default, it's going to show you the last 6 months, but again, you can change that date to whatever you'd like. And here you can review all of the details of the referrals that you've received. Now, the other thing you can do is to actually track the status of these referrals. If you think back to your member success program, one of the things that we're taught is that we should be marking down, that had a spreadsheet right in the member success program manual, said, okay, when you receive a referral, mark down when you received it, mark down when you first contacted them, when you followed up with them, and when you met with them. And we can do that for all of the electronic referrals we receive in BNI Connect. We do that by clicking on the Track Your Referrals Received. You can choose a date range. You can look up to 6 months at a time and click Go. So I can see here that I had received a referral to Sarah Daly recently, and I'd like to go in and mark this one now as closed. I can also, if I want to, update the phone number or the email address or whatever other information I've gathered since then. I can mark this one as closed. I did contact them right away on the 6th. I met with them the next day on the 7th, and I followed up with them last week. Now, if I'd like to, I can mark the thank you for closed business in here for my own private recording. If you do want it to officially count, and on the POMS report, you do need to submit a separate thank you for closed business slip. Anything that happens on this form is not impacting the POMS report. This is a separate section for your use only. And now, in Seth's referral given report, he will know that this referral has been closed. This helps to create a communication loop with your referral partner to let them know what the status is. Now, if you would like to track additional referrals, maybe they might be referrals that you received on paper or referrals from other sources, you can go in and add your own referrals that you would like to track. And again, this does not impact the POMS report. It's just an added benefit of being able to track additional referrals if you'd like to. Now, people often ask, well, if we're doing all this stuff online, what are we supposed to do with a chapter meeting? Well, at the chapter meeting, we absolutely 100% want to make sure that we're still celebrating our weekly activity. During the referrals and testimonial time, we 100% want to be standing up and saying, I had a referral this week. I had a referral for this person. I had a one-to-one this week. I had a thank you for closed business in this amount. So we want to be talking about this. There may not be a need to actually pass the piece of paper anymore because this information is already recorded in the POMS report, making the vice president's job much, much easier. However, you can print out a weekly slip if you'd like to be included in a door prize. So I could click on Print My Weekly Slips, click Go, and now what we'll see is that we have a couple of referrals here. These referrals are available to be printed out. I can cut them out with a pair of scissors and put those into the basket or be entered for the door prize that week. In addition, it has the rest of the information. These are not done as individual slips. They're just organized for you so that you can be prepared to talk about those at the meeting. So I could stand up. I can input my referral slips to Len and to Greg and to David, and then stand up and say, I also had a thank you to David Cordero for $5,000 and Matt Wall for $1,500. I had a one-to-one with Seth Jacobson, and I had one CEU this week. Now for the vice presidents, if we happen to have any vice presidents on the call with us today, this is a huge benefit to the vice presidents. So for example, if I go to my chapter POMS report, so let's say that I'm the vice president of my chapter, and I go in to enter my weekly POMS report. I'm in the Wakefield chapter, so I have to make sure that I'm in the right place here. And I go to enter my weekly POMS report for this week. Let's just pretend that it's Thursday. What we'll see is all of the online slips activity has already been entered, so it's already in the POMS report for this week. So that's that much less paperwork that I have to do. In the end, if your whole chapter is participating in the online slips, all I would have to do as the vice president is to verify the information and take attendance for the meeting. Now, if I'm not sure which slips, and maybe we're doing part paper and part online, I can verify the online slips by clicking on the Slips Audit Report. And this would show me all of the activity for my chapter for the week. All right, so we are getting to the bottom of the hour. What I'd like to do is to open this up for any questions. Does anybody have any questions at all about the online slips or the referral tracking here in BNI Connect? While you guys are thinking of any questions, I would like to remind you that this is being recorded. It will be made available on the support site as well as on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. I would also love it if you could give us a like on Facebook. We do have a Facebook page, facebook.com/BNI Connect Global. We do webinar reminders and tips and tricks and all sorts of announcements up here on the Facebook channel as well, so I would love it if you gave us a like up here. And finally, a great referral for me is if you found today's session helpful, a good referral is to let your other chapter members know about these webinars. Our next webinar is going to be tomorrow. Not tomorrow, Thursday, November 20th. We're going to be talking about the social media aspects of BNI Connect, the connections, the groups, and the testimonials. That one's going to be an hour later. It's going to be at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. All right, we do have a couple of questions that have popped up. Question from Hallie. Hallie says, is the revenue received to my business only available if you submit thank you for closed business online? And the answer to that is yes. Basically, the revenue received to my business is a tally of your submitted thank you for closed business slips online. Normally, when we're tracking thank you for closed business, if we're tracking that on paper, it's actually an anonymous tracking. So only one side of that transaction is recorded, and that's the person that generated the money. There's no place in the POMS report to track who receives the money. However, with the online slips, we can behind the scenes track both sides of that. Now this revenue received to my business, that number is completely private to you. We're not sharing that in any way in the system. Nobody else has access to that number. It is only available to you. So hopefully that helps, Hallie. All right, let's see. Nadine says, do we submit the CEU slips at the weekly meeting as well, or just mention it? So if you're inputting any of these types of slips, so the thank you for closed business, the one-to-one, and the CEU, you don't need to turn in another paper slip for that at the meeting. Again, the original intent of the paper slips was to get the information to the vice president so they could take it all back with them and enter it into the POMS report. We're doing that on behalf of the vice president when we submit the slips online. So you absolutely want to stand up, you want to talk about it, you want to mention that stuff, but you don't need to necessarily turn in a paper slip for it. Does that make sense, Nadine? Does that help? All right. What other questions? That was the last question I see listed. Does anybody else have any questions whatsoever about BNI Connect? All right. If there's no additional questions, I would like to thank everybody so much for being here with me today and spending a little while learning about the online slips. Again, a reminder, our next webinar is going to be on Thursday about the social media aspect. So if you want to expand your network and connect with other BNI members around the world, Thursday is your chance to learn how to do that. So again, thanks again, everybody, for being here, and I look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. Happy connecting, everyone.